January 18th, 1977 will be a day long remembered here at Princeton Community High School. This is a day that the Princeton Community High School Marching Tiger Band and several of its boosters left at 9:30 in the evening on 4 Greyhound buses to begin the trip to Washington, D.C. Our band was to participate in the inaugural parade of President-elect Jimmy Carter. We would like for you to go along on this trip with us. Our first stop the next afternoon was at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, where the group made a brief tour. Going on from there, we spent most of our time from this point on at the Holiday Inn shown here in Springfield, Virginia. The next day, we began our touring of the city. Here we're loading up the buses, ready to go out and see Washington, D.C. Many of the group for the first time. It's a cold, windy day in Washington. Some people were camera shy, not everyone, but we managed to get all of the group as they leave the motel. So we'd like for you to sit back and enjoy the trip as we go. We pick up several guides along the way that give a very thorough explanation of what we're seeing. So settle back, relax, and enjoy the trip with us. Around 165 people made this trip. The excitement mounted as they get on the buses and begin going in for the first time to see their capital city. The bus drivers we found most helpful made the trip very enjoyable. We did switch drivers quite a few times along the way. The drivers that we picked up on the last of our stops took us the entire 4 days that we were in Washington. They helped make the trip very enjoyable. So come along with us now, and you'll hear the driver's comments as we travel across the Potomac River going into Washington. You'll also hear us pick up the guide along the way and her commentary.
Washington selected the site for this city way back in 1790. At the same time that he selected for the site for the city itself, he selected the site for the Capitol building and for the White House. And they're the two oldest buildings in the city. The White House, of course, the President's home and his office, that being the very oldest. The Capitol comes after that. Those flags are flying on the right-hand side. No second see the other. That's the House side, and that means that the House is in Senate. And can you see those people standing on the? They're running those flags up and down as fast as they can run them. And people who want to have a flag that's been flown over the Capitol, either the House or the Senate side, that's what they do. They run the flags up, let them stay for a few minutes, run them down. But you can always tell when the center of our seats, center of our streets. That flag that flies this way, of course, flies all the time. The one on the Senate side on the left you can see is not flying, so the Senate is not in session today. And so, of course, I always say to all of you, if you count, say your ABCs, you really never should get lost in Washington, D.C. It really is a pretty easy city to get around in. We do have broad avenues that cut through the city, and they're named after states, Massachusetts being the longest one. And then there's probably one name for your state, I'm sure. And George Washington liked Pierre L'Enfant very much. But Pierre L'Enfant was a very brilliant man. He was a genius. He was also a little temperamental. He couldn't always get along with all the people who were around Washington when it was being built. And so at one point in time, he decided to have a house torn down that somebody built he didn't like. It wasn't in his plan. And so they finally had to fire it. Well, way back when Mr. Smithson, who was an Englishman, gave us $500,000 to start the Smithsonian. And when he first gave it to us, we weren't going to take it. By the time we decided we'd like to have it, the English government wasn't going to give it up. So it took us a little while to get it, the Freer Gallery of Oriental Art. And so if anybody wants to look at Oriental art, it's a great place to go. They also have a very large collection of whistlers. And the whistler, of course, is the man folks you can see is the Little Red Castle on the Mall. And that's now just an office building, but that's where Mr. Smithson is buried. And if any of you've been to Washington before, this used to be all temporary buildings, you know, before the Air Space Building came to be. Now it's just a pretty... This next building, the little round one, is the Hirshhorn Gallery of Modern Art. So if you like modern art, and it is very, very lovely, you can come and see it there. Across from it on the mall side is a beautiful sculpture garden with a piece of sculpture by Rodin called The Burghers of Calais, which is outstanding. Now, all of these places, with the exception, there's a movie in there called To Fly, which runs about every 45 minutes. And I think during the inaugural, it's free. There again, it's outstanding. If you have a chance to get in line and get a ticket, by all means do so. They run it about once an hour, and it lasts about 45 minutes. But this will be over here on your right as we turn the corner, and it's the new Air Space Museum. It has the plane that Lindbergh flew across the Atlantic. It has the Kitty Hawk. It has all the space capsules, piece of the moon rock we can walk across. And then we have our ice skating rink, if anybody wants their ice skates, right over here. You can stop and take a quick little turn around the ice. And then the next building, which is over here on the right, is natural history. Now this is where they have the Hope Diamond, all kinds of gems that are just as beautiful as it. All kinds of dinosaurs, stuffed animals, anything pertaining to the history of man is here in the History Museum. And the largest elephant in the world is there in the center of the lobby, and right in back of it is the restaurant if you want to eat in this particular building. Yes, this is history and technology. This is where they have the First Lady's ball down. This is what we call the pretzel up there. Can you see that silver piece of sculpture? It's actually called Infinity. We call it the pretzel. And that's where you're going to meet at 6:30. Y'all see it? Got it all locked in? Okay. Now we're going to draw immigrants brought to this country and how we built on them and how they changed our lives. All kinds of things in there. The First Lady's Space Museum. That has had more response since it's been opened, I think, than any one of the museums. It's just been fantastic. Now we'll just run all the way down. I think it's just that street, just the other side of it. You know, and we can make a right. I'll have to look for you real carefully with them. When do you have have to leave to start in the parade? Or do you have to leave your motel? 10:30? It was $10 million in his art collection to start this building. He did not wish it to be named after him because he was afraid that other people who collected art would not give their collections to the government. So he just simply called the National Gallery of Art. Constitution Avenue. But I'll fix it up so you'll know where you are anyway that you're on. Probably mix it up. It's a big place. There's a lot going on in each of these buildings today. There's a lot for you to see. And most of it, I can't think of anything that costs any money today, which is kind of nice, except if you want to buy yourself a ice cream cone. And there's a flag for every state in the Union around the base of the Washington Monument. And of course it was dedicated to George Washington.
No, it's on. It's just hard to see. January 20th finally arrived. The big day. Here our group has moved on to Bowlings Air Force Base and began a long wait to move on into the parade area. You see our 4 buses. We're waiting our turn to move on out into the parade area. We pick up a guide, Sergeant Swiper here, who will be with us through this entire journey. The parade, of course, was very well organized. It's very interesting to see all of the groups assembling here before moving on into the main parade area. There you go. Our buses were in good hands most of the time. Mostly qualified drivers. People stayed aboard the buses here, and a box lunch was served.
Take the pie bag out,
One infantry group came along. This group has been going all during the bicentennial celebration and drew quite a bit of attention to Finally get the word it's our turn to move on toward the parade area. We'll disembark from the buses and walk up to Pennsylvania. Again, you can see the Capitol building in the background as we move on into the parade area. We're going to locate on the corner of 12th and Pennsylvania, set up our equipment, and begin the wait for our band. Our band is in the 3rd group. As we get in closer to the area, we see many of the floats, the horse patrols, and many of the other units that will be marching in this inaugural parade.
Is the House Minority Leader and a member of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies.
President Carter walking up the street with his wife. You'll notice his wife in the bluish-green coat. We'll try to get in here for a close-up.
Following H. Stewart Knight, director of the Secret Service, he was appointed to the position in 1973 after serving as Deputy Secretary for 2 years. Ernie Jeff and Annette Carter, the son and daughter-in-law of President and Mrs. Carter.
Followed shortly behind. Yeah, I'm right through him. I've got a good shot on him. Then the long moments we finally had waited for. Here comes the Princeton Community High School Marching Tiger Band.
The St. Helens Unicycle Drill Team is rolling our way from Chardon, Ohio. The team's awards and performances will soon be highlighted in an article in National Geographic magazine. Washington, D.C. is honored to present the 1976 United States Equestrian Team. This team, the gold medal winner of the three-day event held during the 1976 Montreal Olympics. Members of the team, Tad Coffins, Bruce Davidson, J. Michael Plum, and Mary Ann Toski. The Princeton Community High School Band, known as the Marching Tiger Band, represents the state of Indiana. This group has defeated more than 100 bands in 1976 performing competition, placing first.
Another highlight of the trip was getting to play on the Capitol steps. This was done on Friday, the following day after the inauguration. Here you see our band performing on the Capitol steps. Representative and Mrs. Cornwell came along and were very much impressed with the Marching Tiger Band.
Did anything else happen? Why? Oh, you bad.
I got a good shot of it. Oh, that's in black and white, isn't it?
see the people over to the right.
Blue or gold or... But he won't tell us the yet. I can do that.
This is the... If we could get him to come this way. Larry, just try to get him where this man now can't go. You have to lower it. Gotta have to lower it quite a bit. I've got to drive it just enough to get on these city cars. If they turn around now, would that be the proper time to get them? I don't believe so. Okay. Got him.
Got who?
Cornwall.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's been out here a long time. I shook his hand when he first got here.